Hello, it's a beautiful day again to meet with my esteemed viewers once more. This is Africa Diary, the program that serves you with the latest updates in the world of information. And don't forget, we're going to be moving from this region to western, northern and southern region of the African continent. Join me as the train kicks. My name is Ajara Tijani, and without further ado, let's hit the ground running already. It's going to be a fun fair, I promise. Welcome back. Today on the program, we've got so many for you for your viewing delight. And starting from Somaliland, the Director General of Somaliland Civil Aviation said they have allowed Fly Dubai to resume its operation in Somaliland after the two sides resolved their disagreements and the company agreed to implement the country's flight operating policy.
Somaliland has formally announced it lifting the ban on Fly Dubai, an Emirati-owned company. According to Somaliland officials, the two governments have reached a bilateral agreement while the company accepted to implement the country's flights operating policy. The Director General of the Civil Aviation Authority of Somaliland, Omar Sayed, stated that Somaliland and the United Arab Emirates made a progressive choice to shape a better future for the two states. He also advised other nations who want their flag carriers to start flights in Somaliland to follow suit. Last year, the government of Somaliland announced the suspension of Fly Dubai and Air Arabia into the country. The authorities accused the airlines of complying with the Somali federal government's directives to suspend international flights into Hargeisa.
Regional competition on ports is shaping up as Somaliland and Tanzania angle themselves to give Kenya a run for its money in shipping and logistics. Dubai Port World, DP World, and Somaliland have opened a new terminal at Berbera Port and announced second phase expansion and groundbreaking for an economic zone in the region.
DP World Group Chairman and CEO Sultan Ahmed bin Sulaiman has termed Berbera as a viable, efficient and competitive option for trade in the region, especially for Ethiopian transit cargo, meaning it is likely to give Kenya's new Lamu port stiff competition. The new container terminal, with a deep draft of 17 meters, a quay of 400 meters and 3 ship-to-shore gantry cranes, can handle the largest container vessels in operation today, though remains way below in annual throughput capacity compared to Mombasa, part of the overall Berbera plan and modeled on DP World's Jebel Ali Free Zone in Dubai. The economic zone is linked to the port and strategically located along the Berbera to Wachale Road Berbera Corridor. The Berbera Corridor Road Upgrade Project, funded by the Abu Dhabi Fund for Development ADFD and the UK's Department for International Development DFID, and the Hargeisa Bypass Road funded by UK Aid, is set for completion in Q4 2021 and Q3 2022, respectively. Berbera Port's new container terminal has capacity for 500,000 TEUs a year, with its second phase expansion expected to increase capacity up to 2 million TEUs a year. Berbera Economic Zone under development aims to attract investment and new businesses, with an expanded port, economic zone and Berbera Corridor expected to transform Berbera into an integrated maritime, industrial and logistics hub in the Horn of Africa. The completion of the first phase has made our vision of establishing Berbera with its strategic location into a major trade hub in the region a reality, Somaliland President Museveni Abdi said during the ceremony. The road will link to the existing motor highway on the Ethiopian side and position Berbera as a direct, fast and efficient trade route for Ethiopian transit cargo. Meanwhile, Kenya is eyeing business in Ethiopia and South Sudan with a newly launched Lamu port, which is part of the 2.5 trillion shilling Lamu Port South Sudan Ethiopia Transport Lapset Corridor project.
The federal government of Somalia celebrates its 61st anniversary of independence from Somalia. On this date, Somalia also commemorates the unity formed by Somaliland and Somalia in 1960, although Somaliland later withdrew from that unity, citing dissatisfaction.
The federal government officials, including the President of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, attended a ceremony marking the 61st anniversary of the liberation of Somalia from colonial rule on 1st July 1960. The top leaders of the government have extended congratulatory messages to the general public and magnified the significance of Somalis to remain in one state in the region. They also appreciated Somaliland people for being the founders of Pan-Somalism movement and forming unity with Somalia, a unity which later ended up no progress. Meanwhile, the United Nations Special Representative to Somalia, James Iswan, underscored the importance of this day for the Somali people. He stated that the United Nations would work closely with the federal government of Somalia.
Let us be two-state neighbors. We are not your enemies and not ready to harm you, but Somaliland will never, ever reunite with you.
Somaliland's Upper House Speaker Sulaiman Mahmoud Adam giving a keynote speech on Somaliland's 61st anniversary of independence 4 days ago, believed Somaliland had never been grateful to unite with Somalia. He clearly affirmed that Somaliland will never reunite with Somalia and urged Mogadishu to treat Hargeisa as a good neighbor.
After a long delay, Somalia leaders have agreed to hold presidential elections on October 10, the Prime Minister's office said Tuesday, following months of deadlock that turned violent at times.
The office of Prime Minister Mohamed Hussein Roblu unveiled the timetable for indirect parliamentary and presidential elections in a statement on Twitter, saying stakeholders had agreed to a roadmap for a vote following 2 days of talks in the capital Mogadishu. I recommend the leaders of the council and hope the election will be as peaceful and transparent one based on the agreed upon schedule and processes, the Prime Minister said. President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo and the leaders of Somalia's 5 states had been unable to agree on terms of a vote before his term lapsed in February, triggering an unprecedented constitutional crisis. The political impasse exploded into violence in April when negotiations collapsed and the lower house of parliament extended the president's mandate by 2 years, sparking gun battles on the streets of Mogadishu. Under pressure, the president reversed the mandate extension and ordered his prime minister to reconvene with the state leaders to chart a fresh roadmap towards election. In May, the warring leaders announced plans to commence the multi-stage election process within 60 days, helping ease political tension. The timetable announced Tuesday schedules election for the upper house on July 25 and the lower house between August 10 and September 10. Both houses are then convened and a vote for the president held on October 10. Somalia has not held a direct one-person, one-vote election since 1969, the year dictator Said Barre led a coup and went to rule for 2 decades. The upcoming election, like others past, follows a complex indirect model. Special delegates chosen by countries' myriad clan elders pick lower house MPs, while senators are nominated by state presidents and then endorsed by local legislators. This election was to go further in terms of inclusivity, with double the polling locations and almost twice as many delegates voting as the last election in 2017. Women candidates will pay less to register, Roblu said, in the hope of boosting female electoral participation in the election. Mogadishu and the state struck a deal last September, paving the way for elections and a vote for the presidency by February this year. But disrupts between Farmajo and states over key appointments to crucial election committees, fears of rigging, and concerns about securing the vote itself scuttled the plan.
Similar developments, Somalia's opposition politicians and the general public have welcomed a deal to hold delayed indirect presidential elections in October, with lawmakers chosen in July and August. Somalia's opposition politicians welcomed the new election schedule reached on Tuesday in Mogadishu after a meeting of federal and state leaders. Lawmaker Mohammed Hassan Idris said the opposition was looking forward to a quick implementation to avoid further delays and unrest. Somalia's indirect elections were to take place in February, but the process was stalled over opposition concerns about free elections. The opposition accused President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed Farmajo of stacking poll committees with his allies. International eyebrows were raised in April when he signed into law a 2-year extension of terms in office, including his. The move sparked days of street clashes in April in Mogadishu between split loyalty security forces, revealing fears of a return to clan violence. Under international pressure, Farmajo nullified the extension and returned to talks with opposition for holding elections. The deal reached Tuesday was largely applauded by Mogadishu residents. The indirect elections will begin in July with delegates chosen by clans selecting members of the lower house of parliament. State government will select senators beginning in August. The chosen lawmakers will then vote for the next president on October 10. The U.S. Embassy in Somalia urged continued constructive dialogue among Somali leaders to achieve peaceful and transparent elections. Somalia originally planned to hold direct one-person, one-vote elections, which would have been the first in decades, but the plan was scrapped in September because of a lack of infrastructure and concerns about security in the country. Top Somali officials and Turkey's ambassador to Somalia, Mehmet Yilmaz, met Wednesday in Mogadishu to discuss scaled-up cooperation in fisheries and labor affairs. He also met Minister of Fisheries and Marine Resources of Somalia, Abdullahi Bitan Warsame. Glad to meet with Minister of Labor and Social Affairs of Somalia, Abdul Wahab Ukas Hussein Ukas Khalif, Yilmaz said in a statement on Twitter account of Turkish Embassy. We discussed opportunities to enhance technical cooperation between ministries of labor of our two countries.
Turkish private sector to come to Somalia and invest in agriculture and fisheries. Some have already started their business in Somalia and others still negotiate with the relevant ministries. We are also ready to enhance cooperation between the ministers of agriculture of both Turkey and Somalia for restructuring and modernization of agriculture in Somalia.
Turkey, a close ally with Somalia, has invested in the Horn of African nations' education, infrastructure, and health. Turkish humanitarian and technical development assistance to Somalia has exceeded $1 billion. According to the Turkish Foreign Ministry website, the bilateral trade volume was $187.3 million in 2018 and $250.8 million in 2019. The total value of the Turkish investment in Somalia reached $100 million. Mogadishu International Airport and Mogadishu Seaport are run by Turkish companies. Turkey has its largest embassy in Africa in Mogadishu and also built its largest overseas military facility there to train the Somali National Army. United States of America, Bahrain and other African leaders have sent their congratulatory messages to the Republic of Djibouti as the country celebrated her 44th independence anniversary. In its congratulatory message, the government of the United States of America said United States and Djibouti are partners in fostering security, stability and peace in the Horn of Africa. U.S. Department of State commended Djibouti's leadership in the region, from its hosting the Executive Secretariat of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development to its contributions to African Union mission in Somalia and the important mediation role it plays. U.S. Department said it will continue to work with the government and the people of Djibouti to strengthen democratic situations, expand economic opportunities, and advance our common interests. Meanwhile, His Royal Highness Prince Salman bin Hamad Al Khalifa, the Crown Prince and Prime Minister, equally sent a cable of congratulations to the President of the Republic of Djibouti, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, on the occasion of Djibouti's Independence Day. Djibouti National Day marks the territory's declaration of independence from France as it became independent on 27 June 1977. The day is associated with military parades, fireworks, concerts, fairs and political speeches and ceremonies, in addition to various other public and private events celebrating the history and culture of Djibouti.
Notre souveraineté nationale est une conquête acquise de haute lutte.
Now, in Uganda, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni has condemned vaccine hoarding by calling out vaccine selfishness in the world, but said it will wake up Africans to be self-sufficient.
President Museveni said what Africa needs is raw materials to produce its own COVID vaccines and not donations from the developed nations.
When I quarrel with my people, you people, how can you sit here as if you are imbeciles? That we are dying, we are waiting for foreigners to come and save us. We shall die until the foreigners come to save us. What sort of people are you? It is the orientation. It is a slave mentality.
This is a big shame for Africa, he told delegates attending the World Health Summit on Sunday. President Museveni said countries across the continent need to stop waiting for vaccine donations and manufacture them locally.
You stay there and wait for other people to make the vaccines. I said, no. You must get them. If we don't get them from the ones we think are friends, we shall find another way of getting them. And we got them. So my people now are moving. But they need some other raw materials.
President Museveni said Uganda was in the process of making its own COVID vaccine and only needed help with some raw materials, saying, "Don't worry, we shall buy them. We don't need donations." The African Union has been calling for a COVID vaccine patent waivers to allow the continent to make its own vaccines as shortage continues in different countries. The World Health Organization has been urging for equitable vaccine access, with the African continent lagging behind.
The government of Ethiopia declared a ceasefire in its war-torn Tigray region as rebel fighters claim control of the regional capital, Mekelle.
There have been questions on whether the ceasefire that was announced by the federal government would result in actual ceasing of the almost 8-month-old conflict that has killed thousands, displaced millions, and threatened the worst famine in years. In what he said was a response to TPLF attacks on federal army camps, last November, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent federal troops into Tigray to oust the northern region's former ruling party, the Tigray People's Liberation Front. The allegations have been denied by the TPLF, who accuse Abiy's government in neighbouring Eritrea of launching coordinated attacks against it. Now, the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize winner declared victory after federal troops entered the regional capital, Mekelle. On Monday, however, the federal government's operation suffered heavily when the Tigrayan forces recaptured the city only a week after launching a major counter-offensive. On Tuesday, the Tigrayan forces entered the town of Shire, about 140 kilometers northwest of Mekelle. The news prompted celebrations in multiple areas as federal soldiers, their Eritrean allies, and members of an Abiy-appointed interim regional government all fled their posts. Now, the Tigrayan forces spokesman Getachew Reda, who dismissed the ceasefire as, quote, a joke, told journalists they were prepared to chase their enemy well beyond Tigray.
After his failure to appear at a corruption inquiry earlier this year, a constitutional court in South Africa sentenced ex-President Jacob Zuma to 15 months in jail for contempt of court.
Mr. Zuma is no ordinary litigant. He is the former President of the Republic of South Africa, who continues to wield significant political influence and in whom lies a great deal of power to incite others to similarly defy court orders.
Mr. Zuma failed to appear at the inquiry, which was stayed by Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in February, and as a result, the inquiry's lawyers advanced to the Constitutional Court to seek an order for his imprisonment.
Not only has Mr. Zuma failed to dispute the contempt of court, he has also failed to contest the degree of the contempt. Instead, he has aggravated it. The majority judgment orders an unsuspended sentence of imprisonment for a period of 15 months.
Now, the inquiry is investigating allegations of high levels of corruption during his time in power, wrongdoings Mr. Zuma has all denied. Mr. Zuma is expected to hand himself over to the police within 5 days. The allegations against Zuma include that he allowed businessmen close to him, brothers Atul Ajay and Rajesh Gupta, to plunder state resources and influence policy. The brothers, who all deny the charges, left South Africa when Zuma was ousted by current President Cyril Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa, who is facing opposition from a part of the ruling African National Congress Party that is still loyal to Zuma, has been trying to restore investor confidence in Africa's most industrialized nation.
And from the Africa's populous nation, Nigeria, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has been arrested and repatriated into Nigeria in a sting operation by the country's Secret Service agents.
Arrest on the same date over his failure to appear in court for hearing.
The federal government of Nigeria has announced the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, a separatist group that wants to break away Biafra state in the eastern part of the country. Nigeria's Attorney General Abubakar Malami said in a press briefing that Mr. Kanu was arrested on Sunday with the help of Interpol. He was then repatriated to Nigeria, where he will be tried in the country's federal court.
He has, often jumping bail, been accused of engaging in subversive activities that include inciting violence through television, radio, and online broadcast against the Nigerian state and institutions. Kanu was also accused of instigating violence, especially in the southeastern Nigeria, that resulted in the loss of lives and property of civilians, military, paramilitary, police force, and destruction of civil institutions and symbols of civil authorities. Self-acclaimed leader of the proscribed secessionist indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has, for your information, been intercepted through the collaborative efforts of the Nigerian intelligence and security services. He has been brought back to Nigeria in order to continue facing trial after disappearing while on bail regarding 11-count charge against him.
Mr. Kanu and his co-defendants are facing treasonable felony charges at the Federal High Court in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. He fled the country in September 2017 after an invasion of his home by the military in Afara Uku near Umaya, Abia State. Mr. Kanu is thought to have been in Europe since he fled Nigeria, and it's not yet clear where he was arrested. IPOB established an armed wing, the Eastern Security Network (ESN), last year, and authorities say the group has been responsible for a number of attacks on police stations and other public properties in southern Nigeria. Mr. Kanu's arrest comes after he was caught up in a storm that led to Nigeria's government banning Twitter earlier this month. It is recalled that Kanu was arrested on October 14, 2015 on 11-count charges bordering on terrorism, treasonable felony, managing an unlawful society, publication of defamatory matter, illegal possession of firearms, and improper importation of goods, among others.
With that, we've come to the end of the news stories from across Africa. We hope you've picked one or two things. Right about now, of course, you know how we do it. Let's go for what we have from Africa. Thank you very much. We hope you love that which we serve you. African proverbs are so unique. Right now, we will be kissing a goodbye on the program. But don't forget to subscribe, follow, and press like button as you watch. Until next week that will come your way again, remain blessed. My name remains Ajara Tijani. Bye for now.